What is psychology? At its core, psychology is the systematic scientific study of behaviors and mental processes. It is a broad field of study which aims to understand how people perceive the world and their experiences, uncover patterns in human behavior, and to create interventions to correct undesirable behavior. Why is psychology defined as the systematic and scientific study of behaviors and mental processes? Because it does not rely on guesses or personal opinions. Psychologists use organized methods like experiments, observations, and surveys to study how people think, feel, and act. It is scientific because it follows clear steps, collects evidence, and tests ideas to make sure the information is accurate. It focuses on behavior, which we can see, and mental processes, like thoughts and emotions, which we understand through research. Overall, psychology is a science to understand people in a careful and structured way.
There are four goals of psychology. The first goal is to describe behavior. This means psychologists observe what people do and try to explain it in a clear way, like noticing how someone reacts in a certain situation. The second goal is to explain why people behave that way. Psychology looks for reasons behind actions, emotions, and thoughts so we can understand what causes them. The third goal is to predict behavior. Once we understand patterns, we can make guesses about how a person might act in the future in similar situations. The last goal is to control or influence behavior in a positive way. This can mean helping people change harmful habits, improve mental health, or make better decisions.
There are multiple branches of psychology, and we will be discussing 8. First, biological psychology or biopsychology. It studies how the brain, nerves, hormones, and genetics influence behavior. For example, how stress affects the brain. Second, cognitive psychology. It focuses on mental processes like thinking, memory, learning, problem solving, and perception. An example is how we remember information. Third, developmental psychology. It studies how people grow and change from infancy to old age. Example, how children learn language. Fourth, social psychology. It examines how people think, feel, and behave in social situations. Example, why people conform or follow trends.
Next is clinical psychology. It focuses on diagnosing and treating mental health problems. Example, therapy for anxiety or depressions. Another branch is forensic psychology. It applies psychology to the justice system. For example, understanding criminal behavior or giving expert testimony. Next is environmental psychology. It studies how surroundings like noise, crowding, nature affect behaviors. Example, why natural environments reduce stress. Lastly is the educational psychology. It studies how people learn and how to improve teaching methods. For example, why some students learn better with visuals.
Misconceptions about psychology. Psychologists can read minds. Many people think psychologists can instantly know what someone is thinking. In reality, they use observations, assessments, and scientific methods and not mind reading. Psychology is only about mental illness. People often assume psychology is only focused on disorders. Actually, it also studies learning, memory, relationships, development, personality, behavior, and emotions. Third, therapy is just giving advice. Psychologists do not simply tell clients what to do. Therapy involves structured methods to help people understand their thoughts, change behaviors, and cope with challenges.
Next is psychologists and psychiatrists are the same. It is a common misconception that these two disciplines are the same, but they are not. A psychiatrist is a medical doctor who can prescribe medication, while psychologists specialize in therapy, assessments, and behavior. Another, childhood trauma automatically explains everything. While childhood experiences matter, behavior is influenced by many factors like environment, genetics, culture, and current life stressors. Lastly, is that psychology is not real science. Because psychology studies human behavior. People assume it is soft or unscientific.
Now, why is psychology important? It helps us understand ourselves. We learn why we react a certain way, how to manage our emotions, and how to improve our mental well being. It helps us understand others. Psychology explains why people behave differently, which helps us communicate better and avoid misunderstandings. It improves relationships. Knowing how thoughts and feelings work helps us build healthier friendships, family relationships, and romantic relationships. It helps us solve problems. Psychologists study issues like stress, addiction, crime, learning, and mental health so communities can create better solutions. It guides many careers. Psychology is used in education, healthcare, business, law, sports, marketing, and more. It helps us perform better and make smarter decisions. In simple terms, psychology matters because it helps people live healthier, happier, and more meaningful lives.
Now, let's talk about how is psychology applicable in our daily lives. First, making better decisions. For example, you're choosing between studying or hanging out with friends. By understanding how motivation and consequences work, you decide to study first because you know it will reduce stress later. Next is improving communication. For example, you and a friend have a misunderstanding. Using basic knowledge of social psychology, you try to listen actively, control your tone, and see their point of view, making the conversation calmer and more productive. Another, managing stress. For example, before a big exam, you feel overwhelmed. You apply psychological techniques like deep breathing, positive self talk, and time management to calm your mind and stay focused. Lastly, the understanding others' behaviors. Example, when someone snaps at you, instead of getting angry, you consider they might be tired or stressed. This use of empathy and cognitive psychology helps prevent conflict and strengthens relationships.
To sum it up, psychology isn't just something we study in class, it's something we use every day without even noticing it. Understanding how people think, feel, and act helps us handle our own lives better and connect with others in a more meaningful way. I hope this brief guide helped you gain a clearer and simpler view of what psychology is really about. Thank you.